All right, I'm pretty sure we're live. Hey, what's going on there, Speed Gaming? What's happening? My name is the Schwantz27, and I'm joined by Ravlin. What's up, Rav?
Oh, not much. Just enjoying, some time off of work and, looking forward to a fun time tonight.
You have a day off of work, and you're stuck here with me doing work instead of relaxing. Gotta love it. Gotta love the dedication. we are we're going to be playing Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. It's an open world Final Fantasy VI randomizer, or Final Fantasy III if you were in the US. Unfortunately, we look like we're going to have the same exact background and colors on the fonts. Okay, it looks like Fitz is going for... Nope, he's doing full-on teal as well. Anyway, so what are you watching? So basically, the goal of the game is to defeat Kefka, and in order to unlock Kefka, as you see on Javinator's screen, you need to recruit 6 characters and find 9 espers. All the rewards in the game have been randomized based on the world events, so you never know where you could recruit your character or find your esper. Do you want to talk to us a little bit more about how we get and recruit characters and espers and stuff like that?
So we are going to start off with 3 characters, I believe. And then from there, each one of those characters is going to have an associated number of checks. So, for example, Terra, you could go do the Leet River, or you could go fight the boss at the Welk spot. Once you complete one of these checks, you will get a reward of either a character, an esper, or a high-tier item. So you will be going to clear out these checks, hopefully getting characters that will unlock more checks. And then you are trying to get your 6 characters, 9 espers for entrance into Final Kefka's Tower so you can go beat up the evil clown.
Yeah, so the character gating concept is an interesting thing that I haven't seen in a lot of other randomizers. It kind of makes this one a little unique, in my opinion, as there's not really a required item or item set. You just have to go in, do your requirements, which in this case is 6 characters, 9 espers. All of the abilities on the characters are randomized, and we do start with 3 characters. So we'll see once the race starts. I did give them the heads up that we're going to be starting in the next minute or 3. Well, actually, it's like 30 seconds or so. But yeah, we'll see what our 3 characters are, and then that'll kind of guide us as to where we're going to go in the seed. Other things to note is that enemies are scaled based on your progression, or the number of characters, the number of espers you have, and also the number of dragons that you've killed. So even if we find a crazy endgame boss in the beginning of the game, they'll be scaled down appropriately based on what we've got. So this way it's not a complete game over right then and there. All right, so we're starting up here, and who do we have?
Ooh, we've got a party of, 2 old guys and 1 gambler at best. Strago is never someone I am happy to see early on in the game here. He has 3 of the worst checks in Worlds Collide, between the Burning House and Fanatic's Tower and Ebot's Rock. None of them feel good. None of them run well. It's just a bad time all the way around.
Yeah, so I did see in chat somebody said that that they loved Final Fantasy VI music a lot. Well, in the randomizer, there is a tool that we use sometimes to roll our random seeds that will allow us to put in random music into the game. So that's why you're hearing like the Secret of Mana, Flammy theme on Takeoff, and you're hearing some different themes now in different areas. Both of our runners heading to the Returner's hideout. So the first, 5 to 10 minutes of every game, since we start with nothing and all of the chests are randomized and all of the items in shop are randomized, it's really just a shopping and looting fest to see what we have and what we're working with for the seed here. We did have, I think Setzer had Throw. So Throw is one of the more powerful abilities in the game. You could throw weapons at your opponents, and you could also throw elemental knives or skeins at your opponents. So we'll see if we find any of those in shop. And that will sort of dictate how long we're in this looting and shopping phase here.
Yep. The Returner's Hideout is a really common first spot for runners to go in terms of looting. It's a fairly dense check with, I don't know, 7 or 8 chests all in a fairly small area. You've got a nice little shop there as well. And then South Figaro is one of my personal favorites. Not only can you get all of the outside chests in the World of Balance, you can then flip over to the World of Ruin and collect them all again. They've been refilled for you. It's great.
It's like a Billy Mays, but wait, there's more.
There's always more.
Yeah, South Figaro has the most chests in an area. I think it's in the double digits for the underground area, which is sadly not different in both worlds. It's kind of shared between both worlds. But the outside area, you could go back and loot twice, and I think there's 8 or 9 chests on the outside area. But that's why you see a lot of people usually go to South Figaro first to go and loot. There are also chances to run into some encounters down here. There's some shurikens on 1-3-5 screen. You'll probably pick up a nice fat stack of those for Setzer to throw. They're very cheap and they're pretty powerful in terms of battle power. When you throw something, the damage it does is based on the battle power of the weapon that you throw. So that's a nice, quick, cheap, easy way to get throw. Off and running in your seeds. So we do also give our runners at the start of every seed 3 Moogle Charms, which is a relic that will skip the random encounters that you get in the game. So you can either leave it on if you want to not do any of the random battles, or if you want to get some levels, you can take it off and grind a little bit, which I think some runners opt to do.
Yeah, it really depends on how the seed is going and, where I am in terms of checks on whether or not I'm going to take some random battles. Because the battles are completely randomized, you could take off your Moogle Charm outside of the starting town Narsh and end up fighting monsters from Kefka's Tower. Even with scaling, they're still terrifying monsters. So taking those random fights is a bit of a risk, but it can be a big reward if, it gets you those couple of levels you need just to launch yourself forward.
Yeah, we do start at level 3, which is never a fun place to be. Basically, everybody hurts at level 3 as they sing. But our enemies are actually, as you see, wow, that's a cheap to Zen Thief. Fenrir is the Magicite as well. That's a huge early pickup for Javinator there, as he has Ice 3 on it as well. So that's really good.
Yeah, that relic in and of itself is, enough to get you through most of the game. And there are earrings in town, so he's going to have a top tier spell very quickly. He's going to have earrings to power it up. Fenrir is arguably one of the 2 best espers in the entire game for its summon effect, because it helps you avoid calmness in the final Kefka battle. And it has speed +2, which isn't
the soldier giving him
wonderful.
The business there.
Yeah. Yes. Sometimes the final enemy, or the real boss in these games, are the NPCs who get in our way.
Yep. Starman also pointed out Gold Hairpin. Gold Hairpin will have the amount of magic points that it costs to cast a spell, which is very helpful early on because you don't have a lot of magic points in your early levels. Ice 3, it costs in the 50s, I think, to cast. The MP values of spells are not randomized, but the spells that are taught on Espers and their Esper bonuses, as Ravlin mentioned, are randomized. So that's why you could have, that sort of spell and Esper bonus on some random items here. And it looks like Javinator is going to take that early Esper and is going to go over to one of Cyan's checks, Mount Zozo. Hopefully he's got enough for the Rustrid here. There is a dragon that he could fight. Dragons are scaled with the enemies. Of course, they're scaled physically, but their levels are scaled to be 2 times the progression that you have. And I completely missed that. I have to mark off 3 members for each. So Javinator has 3 characters and 1 Esper. Multiply that times 2. I know there is math in this stream. Don't worry about it. We'll try and do our best. And so this dragon will be at level 8. Meanwhile, 1-3-5 finds an experience egg in Albrook.
Yeah, that experience egg might make, and a thunder shield here, that
Wow.
might make up for the fact that One Free Fritz hasn't gone to get that Fenrir Esper. And to be fair, going to that Zen Thief early is not a very common play that gets made. Um, so, he might not do it right away. And Javinator has decided that he is not going to make friends with that dragon.
Or he's gonna grab the reward and come back and fight it. I don't know. We'll see what he decides to do here. And it is Celeste writing love letters to the girl in Mobla's there.
Yeah, Celeste comes in. She has some of the better base stats in the game. That is very helpful. But also, she has some really good checks. She has her cell in South Figaro in the World of Balance, which is a free check. Very quick and easy to get to. She opens up the Magitech factory and the opera scene as well. With that, she has natural magic and sword tech. Both of those things could be very, very useful.
So One Free Fitz does throw down the 5K for Fenrir as well, so he is not going to be locked out of that. In this randomizer, the abilities that each of the characters have are actually randomized, which is why you saw Celeste with sword tech and not runic. And we have a question from Eric in chat: if they start with 3 characters, do they have to get 3 more to meet the 6? Yes, so they need to recruit 3 additional characters besides their starting 3 and get to 9 espers, so 6 and 9 overall. That's another Magicite there for Javinator at the Colingen Inn, where you recruit Setzer in the vanilla game, and that's Phantom, which is also one that you could use on the 3rd tier of Kefka, but since we have Fenrir, we don't need to worry about that either.
So I know how to use Phantom to avoid calmness. I know that it can be done, and I know that it is not that hard to do it. I, however, have never been able to pull that off.
No, it's a lot hard. I personally think it's very hard to do. Or a Lance for Javinator as well. He's just buying a ton of Mithril Pikes. I guess he missed the shurikens in the shop there. He needs something cheap to throw, and Mithril Pikes are cheap, and they will throw.
Yep.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just like, it's like those old viral videos on YouTube. Will it blend? Well, here we have, will it throw? And the answer is usually yes.
Yep, so Javinator, not to be confused with Javelinator, I guess, is what he's going to be doing, throwing spears for the rest of the stream.
Oh, God, why?
And we have One Free Fitz, who's also going to pick up that Magicite. So even though we've got a lot of checks open to us, our runner is seemingly doing kind of the same things here. One of the things that I love about Worlds Collide is with so many options, you normally tend to see some diverse routing because the requirements, like we mentioned, are not key items, but rather how many characters and espers can you find. And there's some fixed dice in that shop from Javinator, World of Ruin, South Figaro. Now, Setzer can naturally equip the fixed dice, and how this particular set of options works, you have a 33% chance to equip something that you could not equip in the vanilla game, but if you can equip it in the vanilla game, you could always equip it. So Setzer unfortunately is our thrower, so no need to put the dice on him, but I'm surprised Javinator didn't even check to see if anyone else could use that dice.
I mean, to be honest, he's already got Ice 3, he's got Throw. There's not a whole lot that fixed dice are really going to bring to the table, except for the fact that fixed dice are slow. They have a very long animation, and they are unreliable unless you have Genji Glove or an offering. Coming in there, getting that Edgar here in the South Figaro cell. He is in the World of Ruin South Figaro, which does mean that Edgar will give him half price on the shops. Half-priced fixed dice might be enticing.
And he either forgot to equip his Moogle Charm or took his Moogle Charm user out of the party, but these rabbits and that bird are not going to hurt him here. So, interesting thing to note, he has not fought any bosses yet, and he already has 2 espers and 5 characters, so his enemies are going to be at level 2 plus 5, which is 7, times 2, which is 14. So his enemies will already be level 14. So maybe he is taking some grind fights here. As you see, one free fits in one of Cyan's checks, the Doma Siege in the World of Balance. He will take these optional grind fights against these soldiers here.
That's actually kind of a risky play because those soldiers could be anything. These Dobermans are probably pretty reasonable to take care of, especially with a couple of bolt edges. I do want to welcome the raid from SpeedGaming 1. Welcome to everyone here. We are Worlds Collide, a Final Fantasy VI open world randomizer. Our racers are trying to get to 6 characters and 9 espers to open up the final Kefka tower.
Yeah, so Javinator looks like he's going to go check the Figaro throne, which is one of Edgar's checks. It's another one where you don't have to take any fights for it. He is putting Edgar in the front of the party, so that this way he will get that discount double check on anything here in the shops. The other thing to mention about the risk involved in grinding with this Doma check is, there's Gao sitting on the throne, so we've already got 6 characters for Jav. Wow.
This is shaping up to be a very, very quick seed from Javinator, because with 6 characters, each check is fairly likely to have an Esper. One free fits is coming in on the Tentacles fight. The Tentacles fight is one of those fights that, while the enemies are scaled down in terms of their level, the way that their actual seize and the drain mechanic works, those damage numbers from the drain are hard-coded into the game. So each one of the drains is going to basically eliminate the entire health pool of one of our characters here.
Yeah, the Tentacles is awful to find early in a seed and in Kefka's tower because it's just a time waste at that time. But he did find the Doberman grind fight, which doesn't actually give any XP, so he decided to go for the boss. And this is not one you really want to see here. The Doom Pasta, as I like to call it. Each one of them has different weaknesses, but he's at level 3 still, right? Because he didn't get any XP on any of those grind fights. So
correct.
And you'll see Strago will probably die in 1 or 2 hits here from this health pool. Yep, 58 per tick, and that's a sleeping grandpa.
Yep. So one thing that you were alluding to earlier, we will have a lot of route divergence, and this is something. Now, I've played a lot of different randomizers, particularly RPG randomizers. I have a style. It's old school RPGs. And in a lot of other randomizers that I've played, if you're going to race it with someone, you might have different routes, but eventually everyone's going to do the same checks because you need to get, whatever the key item is to complete the game. So in like Free Enterprise, you're looking for the crystal, and the crystal's only going to be in one spot. But here, because we're looking for a number of characters and a number of espers, there can very easily be 2, 3, or more viable routes through the seed. And that's one thing that I, in particular, really like about this game, is that there are multiple routes, and both, more than one can be a completely valid way of completing the seed in a very quick way.
Yeah, one free fits finding that the grind fights outside of Doma Castle also don't give XP. They only give magic points, so he's got to go somewhere else to do it. Javinator's on the Velt. He reduced his party down to 3 and is going to throw some dried meat at the soldier. And finally, we see another Esper here, because this can only be an Esper or a character. And it's going to be Seraphim. So he's up to 6 characters and 3 Espers. And I'm pretty sure he's either still on level 3 or he's on level 5 maybe, because he took that one accidental fight. Meanwhile, his scaling is up to level 18 of his enemies. So we'll see how Javinator wants to climb back up against having his enemies be way, way, way stronger than he is. Throw is a great ability, but it's not enough to overcome double-digit amount of levels here.
Yeah, and if you find the right fight in the right place, a lot of fights can be cheesed in various ways, either through an elemental weakness or a vulnerability to instant death spells. Or, sometimes the enemies just have really low HP even when they get scaled up. So there are ways to get around it, but it is something to be aware of at this level. A lot of fights won't be trivial.
Casa del Fuego for 1 free Fitz, hoping that the flames will give him some XP to slingshot him past the levels, and these fights will definitely give XP, and they'll also give MP as well.
Yep.
There was a Genji glove in South Figaro, I believe, so he could have used the double fixed dice approach, but Javanator's opting to go against it. He did list off the dances. It seems we've got a boogie down king on our hands with Edgar. I didn't see any great dances. There was one with Wild Bear and Wind Slash, which is good healing and good AoE. But dance also means your character gets berserked, you have no control over them, and you can't tell them which of the commands to use. So it's really just pray to the RNGesus that you can get what you need.
Yeah, sometimes the Moogles will be in your favor, and sometimes they just won't. But, having the knowledge, knowing that, hey, this dance has Wild Bear, and it's a pretty good chance of actually giving me the healing that I need, it can come in clutch.
Yeah, so you did see on one free Fitz's screen that he did throw a wing edge at one of the undead enemies, and when you try to use a weapon that has instant death on an undead enemy, that will bring the enemy back to life at full health. So don't do that. Throw Revivify or a Phoenix down at it instead. Javanator, meanwhile, threw the Serpent Trench, which is Gao's second check that he's doing here, and he's just, as the pun I alluded to earlier, he's just throwing mithril pikes at everybody. But at these low levels, he's got 5 HP, 4 HP, and 0 HP. That's not a good place to be.
Yeah, these fights look a little sketchy, but it looks like he's gonna, really commit to it. Use some potions, use some Phoenix Downs, get his characters up, and try to get those levels. Because at some point, you really just have to bite the bullet if you're in this situation and make sure that you get those levels. I don't think there is a possible way to kill Final Kefka at level 3.
Unless you want to sit there for an hour with Emperor Tort, right?
Okay, look, I did that once. Yes, it was in a race, and it eliminated me from the tournament I was in, but did you have to bring it up?
I'm sorry, I had to go there. Oh, man. Well, meanwhile, one free Fitz, remember, he found the experience egg. Javanator did not, and you see him using it to great effect here in the Burning House, doing all of this leveling up before the boss. The only problem with the Burning House is that there's no save point before the boss. So if he runs in, he's not going to run into tentacles, but if he runs into another boss that's mean, Doomgaze, one of the statue bosses, Magimaster, something that we can't deal with, he's going to lose all of this leveling progress in addition to having to reset and losing all that time. So here's hoping that he doesn't run into anything too mean at the end of this. And yes, I've just cursed it. I've realized I've just done it.
Yep. And, one thing I find interesting is over the course of the life of this randomizer, fixed encounter checks like Burning House and Serpent Trench have come into favor, fallen out of favor, and then have had a resurgence lately that I've noticed. Getting in there and having a series of fights that once you scout it out, you know what the fight's going to be, you know how to handle it, you're getting this guaranteed XP, is once again becoming very, very fashionable among our racers.
Yeah, so you see Javanator did pull through that first fight, getting 5,000 XP for his characters. So the higher the enemy levels go, the more XP they also give. So it's one of those things where runners will try to do some free progression, i.e. scaling up the enemies without having to take any fights in order to get more XP, but there's that risk reward of, well, this grind fight is now going to take 5 minutes instead of 30 seconds. He's halfway through the Serpent Trench, though, and Free Fitz is at the end of the Burning House, where we have some Risopus and the Piranhas, my favorite Final Fantasy VI punk band. Bad place for some fish to be, though, in a burning house, huh?
I was going to make a sushi joke, but in the Burning House, they're going to be fried, so...
Fried piranha is something I've never had the pleasure of trying before.
My understanding is that piranhas are very, very bony fish, and there's not a lot of meat on them, so it probably wouldn't be very pleasant for you or the piranha.
Definitely not. So in Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, unlike in the vanilla game, the time that it takes for this purple piranha, Rosopus, the king of the piranhas, I guess, to appear, is a random number between 5 and 55 seconds, and it always seems like it's the 55 whenever I run any seeds. So you can't do the vanilla speedrun strat of, well, when this part of the music plays, now you know you can continue on. There's a chance you can get it early, and that was thankfully an easy boss at the end of the Burning House here for 1 free fits, and we'll see what the reward is.
It's another Magicite. We need these Magicite. Might have a couple of good spells on it for him. But we also know that those other characters are available in some pretty quick checks. So, if 1 free fits can really find those espers and then get into those characters, this is definitely anyone's race. There is no one who is noticeably ahead at the moment.
Ooh, there's a dragon horn in a bucket. That will allow us, if we've found somebody with jump or got some dragoon boots, in order to make a pogo character out of them. So Fitz, as you see, is all the way up to level 17 and 13 here after that Burning House trip. Definitely fruitful for him. I've found in my seeds when I've been playing that usually seeds are not as wide as they are deep. So usually your new character will get you to other characters, and I think in this seed that's sort of what happened, right? We got Celeste, and then we went down to the cell and we got Setzer, and then we went to Setzer's in check and got another character, right? So it kind of spiraled that way. So
yeah, I think that is a byproduct of the way the randomizer logics out how things will be gated, but please don't quote me on that. I am not a developer and I am not a programmer, nor am I very good at logic.
I was told there would be no math, right? So that's Shiva there. Not really much on the Shiva spell, Shiva Magicite rather, or Esper. But it's one more towards our total, and now Javinator can go shopping in Ikea, which is usually what I like to do right after Serpent Trench. Gao is actually my favorite character in Worlds Collide, which is kind of odd to say because he has a chance to be absolutely useless if the 2 random commands that get rolled are, let's say, Control and Sketch, or something egregious. But I love his checks, and he also has twice as much chance as getting a real command. You're a real grown-up now, Gao.
My favorite Gao ever, and I've had this in races at least twice, is double slots Gao.
Gamble and Gao. I happen to like slots just because I like mashing the button and seeing what happens. A lot of the time, if you just hit A as fast as you can, because of the way slot RNG works in this game, it's actually rigged to either go against you or for you, depending upon what the frame count you're on is. There's a whole way to manipulate it with pause buffering and things like that. But I found if you just mash A, it usually works out. And we are warming up our pipes for Javinator at the Opera House, and 1 free fits, meanwhile, is in one of Setzer's checks. This is Daryl's tomb here. You can actually read what the reward is on the tomb before the fight. However, if you don't like it, you're going to have to reset out. So we'll see if he saves beforehand. But at this point in the race, our runners just need everything here.
I mean, the only thing I might reset out of here is if it was like a thunder shield or something.
Yeah. Marvel shoes.
But they're marvelous.
They do make you look marvelous. That yellow hue outline is always wonderful. So Javinator taking another. So the Opera House is one of Celeste's checks, and there are these rats in the rafters here. So these are forced encounters that you can dodge, but he needs the levels because he scaled up his enemies really, really high at the beginning with all that free progression. There is a monster in a box, however, in Daryl's tomb, and we'll see if we can pull something out of it. Magic Power +2 on Fenrir as well. I'm sorry, that's Zone Seek. Lots of good espers. Lots of good espers so far in this seed.
Yep, lots of good magic available. One of the nice things about Worlds Collide is you can find either magical or physical routes through the game. Magic tends to be, I think, a little bit safer to do, maybe a little bit easier to do. All you need is basically 2 good spells just to make sure that you're able to cover any weaknesses or immunities your enemy might have. But other than that, magic is pretty good. Physical does have a sh- higher ceiling in terms of damage. There are more ways with physical to break the quad nines damage limit than there is in magic.
Yeah, and just due to it's an aura lance, so yeah, that's a dead check I would be resetting out of because you can go buy one in Colingen. Oh, and it's
Oh,
Magi Master too. Oh wow, that is double sorts of awful. This would be a reset for me right now instantly,
and
and
there
it
it
is.
is. I think he was checking to see if he had Berserk,
Yep.
because Magi Master is exploitable in a couple of different ways. Um, Berserk is one of them. Wall rings or reflect is a way, or non-elemental damage.
Yeah, yeah. Magi Master is one of those fights where the programmers actually thought of everything that you could try to do, except for give him the one Berserk weakness. And, since the spells are random on all of the Espers, we have no idea whether or not we're going to learn Berserk in a seed or not. So, good idea to nope out of that Magi Master fight, especially as I mentioned, you can see what the reward is on the tin before you go in. Ultros, meanwhile, collapsing down onto our scene, and we're going to get some bad acting from Edgar before we see who the boss is here.
I always love bringing Celis to the Opera House check so that Celis is rescuing Celis.
It's a Celesteception. Because she's also, she's also just sitting there, and it's the Cranes.
Ah, Niles and Frazier.
Yeah, so the Cranes, they will absorb fire and lightning. Well, one absorbs fire, that's the one on the right. The left one, left loves lightning, will absorb lightning. So hit it with that ice 3 that we've got and make them just go away. This is not a tough boss here.
No, this is a boss that we are well prepared for. It will go down fairly quickly. And we see Fritz going in and doing the Mount Zozo check. I'll be very curious to see if he actually spends the time to get this dragon here. That dragon can give you, I believe it's 50 magic points,
Yep.
plus a great deal of XP. It is very, very valuable if you are able to do it. You also get whatever the dragon drops, plus a high tier item reward as well. Dragons are worth your time if you can do it.
So this is the blue dragon here. It's the water dragon. There's not a lot of water resistance in Final Fantasy VI. However, he is going to use Morph and is going to cast Bolt 2 on it. Okay, it's not going to cast Bolt 2 on it. The blue dragon's actually weak to lightning. Water is weak to lightning. But I'm not sure if Ice 3 is more powerful because it's a higher tier spell. I would think that the thing is with elemental weaknesses and magic, it actually does twice as much damage as normal. So Bolt 2 might be better than an Ice 3 here. And it is Realm coming to rescue Celeste in the Opera House. That's character number 7 for Javinator.
Realm, the murder child, my second favorite character in Final Fantasy VI, second only to Mog. I have a special affinity for Moogles.
So yeah,
But-
you did see the Ice 3 did about 2,500 and the Bolt 2 did about 2,500. So elemental weaknesses definitely help a lot in terms of dragons. So Blue Dragon will drop the Vanilla Scimitar and is also going to drop a high tier item. In this case, it's a Snow Muffler. So that's a very good piece of equipment here. We'll see if anybody can equip it, and they'll
Multiple
probably
people
go on
can.
Cyan. There it is. And he's also going to find Celeste at the end of this Mount Zozo check, so he'll get character number 4. And it looks like Javinator is going to the other Opera House to take on this dragon here.
Yep, just a good way to get you the levels that you need.
Ooh.
Dirt Dragon is worrisome.
Yeah, Dirt Dragon is weak to water, which, again, there's not a lot of water in Final Fantasy VI except on lures and dances, maybe, although I didn't see any. But Ice 3 will certainly work. Dirt Dragon is probably the worst dragon you want to see. It's got the most powerful attacks and does earth elemental stuff, of which there's only what, Gaia gear, I think, to defend against earth elemental things.
And
even
float.
Even if you try and get cheeky with float, Dirt Dragon has an ability to put you back on the ground. So it's one of those things where this is another fight where the programmers got it right this time.
It's like they don't want you cheesing every fight in the game. How rude. I want to get through the easy way.
Yep, so even though Javinator definitely has an advantage here in terms of pure numbers as far as requirements go, you see he's having trouble with fighting the enemies that he's got because of the level situation and the scaling situation. Especially not finding that EXP egg in Albrook. Definitely not a good thing here.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to survive this. It'll be...
No, I can understand why he's trying, because if he does make it through, that's going to be a pretty big boon and a pretty big boost for him. But it is a pretty high-risk play at this point.
Yep. So Javinator has the character requirements. He's just looking for Espers, and oof, that's a Quake, and he's got 2 more members down there. There are certain world events or checks that will only grant Espers, of which the Magitech Factory has the first 2 of the 3 checks are Esper only. There is the Doomgaze spot, which is available to get in automagically from Setzer. And that's only an Esper or an item. And we could peek Fanatic's Tower, which is one of Strago's checks, to see if it's an Esper item. So if I were him, that's sort of what I'd be doing with the seed, is trying to do all the checks I could take a look at beforehand to see what the reward is and hopefully getting my requirements. But he also needs some levels here as well.
Yeah, levels are really the thing that's going to determine most of the damage that you do. Again, I could get into the actual damage formulas. You know, your stats matter, the item you're using, the spell you're casting matters. But one thing that is in every single damage formula is your level. And in most of the damage formulas, it's in there twice. So it's not just your level, but it's your level squared. So, you know, if you're ever playing Final Fantasy VI, either the randomizer or vanilla, and you're struggling at a particular spot, go gain a couple of levels and it will solve a huge number of your problems.
Yeah, physical damage, the level is multiplied in there twice, so it's level squared. Whereas in Magic, when the magical damage formula calculator, it's only in there once. So physical attacks will start doing more than magic attacks more towards the end of the seed, where you get more levels. Magical attacks are better at the beginning of the seed, just because their spell power is usually more powerful. But as you said, yeah, levels are the #1 thing, and that's why getting that EXP egg really helps. And Javinator got his full party back up and finally took out the Dirt Dragon, so awesome job there from Jav.
Yeah, that is absolutely clutch there. We're going to see 13,000 XP. We're learning a whole bunch of spells. We get a Magus Rod, which is one of the better weapons for anyone who's casting magic, and Thunder Shield. That was certainly a worthwhile endeavor for him to do, and you know, that risk reward paid off pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. Magus Rod gives you +7 magic power to whoever's wielding it. One free fits is heading into one of Cyan's checks, which is Cyan's Dream. The first and third parts of Cyan's Dream can be either Esper or item, and the second part is guaranteed to be progression, either a character or an Esper. Meanwhile, Javinator finds the Doomgaze spot via the Search the Skies option from Setzer and runs into Goddess, which is, oh my Goddess, that is not good.
Goddess is definitely a rough one to encounter here. She does have very low HP, which is nice. She does absorb, I believe it's both wind and thunder, which can be a big problem. And she also counters basic attacks with with love token, which then charms one of your people. It causes a whole thing. Goddess is one of those bosses that, you know, no matter what your level is, she can still give you the business if you are not prepared to deal with her.
Yeah, so let's talk about Morph actually, because we've seen both of our runners use it. So Morph is Terra's vanilla ability. Obviously, it gets randomized onto different characters here. And what Morph does is it doubles any damage that you deal while you're morphed. It doesn't matter if it's magic damage or physical damage. You'll do twice as much when you're morphed. So that's why you saw Jav throw it on at the beginning of this fight to try and get Goddess down. Goddess has very high magic defense, has very low physical defense, but as you mentioned, Rav, the love token charm counter means that you can only do 1 or 2 attacks before you're gonna have to start eating physical damage for her. And it is the Opera House Ultros on One Free Fits' screen.
Yep. With that particular boss, as long as you put out enough damage quickly enough, it is a very low HP boss. Once he starts moving around, though, each place he moves to has a different HP pool. It can just get very obnoxious very quickly. So, pump out that damage nice and quick, get rid of him before he moves.
Thankfully, Javinator found that Thunder Shield from the previous fight. Otherwise, this would be really rough. You did see Cyan on One Free Fits' screen go for a physical attack with that scimitar, and he actually missed. And the reason why that happened was because he has the dark status. In the vanilla game, Final Fantasy VI, the evade bug, right, means that dark status or your evade stat doesn't really matter. In Worlds Collide, we fixed that. So now evade does matter, and it does count. As we see, Locke is jumping from car to car all nimbly bimbly, so that means he will be our reward after completing the second check here in Cyan's Dream. So that'll be character number 6 for One Free Fits. He does have 5 characters and not 4, so let's change that. And Goddess is now decided to do Overcast, which is sort of like Condemned but worse. When that counter reaches 0, your character will become a zombie, which is never fun.
Yeah. This means that Jav does need to end this fight really as soon as possible. Because otherwise, his characters are going to come back and they're going to be zombied and attacking each other, and that's no good.
And there it is. There's the crack pow. He does get past Goddess. If your characters are all zombied, then the fight's over. Because when your character's zombied, they're considered dead. Similar when they're petrified, they're also considered dead or KO'd. So when that countdown hits 0, then your party gets wiped. Unfortunately, it's just an item here. You would see an Esper coming flying out of the screen. It is an Illumina, though, which is definitely an item that you do want to see.
Of any quote-unquote dead check, an Illumina is the least dead check.
I think One Free Fits forgot how to do this part of the dream. It's one of those mazes where you have to go backwards to go forwards. Yeah. It gets very confusing unless you've... I have it in muscle memory, otherwise I would also be completely lost. So... the Illumina is the best sword in the game. As we talked about evade earlier, it gives you 50% more evade. So that is very helpful on things like tier 3 for calmness and just dodging other physical things that happen in the game. Forgot to put his Moogle Charm back on here as he's walking through Narsh, which is where Locke's checks actually are, but he doesn't have Locke yet because he didn't go through Cyan's Dream. So that means he's going up to the Snow Hills to probably fight a dragon and Tritok, because he doesn't have Umaro either to get into the Yeti Cave.
I mean, Tritok, it's a relatively quick journey, just a boss battle to get a possible Esper check. An entirely reasonable play here. He doesn't need that much more, and it can't be another character.
Right, it's either Esper or an item at the Tritok Cliff. ETAP indicating in the chat that Goddess drops an Excalibur. Yeah, so Goddess will drop an Excalibur every time they are defeated. Excalibur is one of the better swords in the game, but people normally use it for a stat stick versus actually hitting things with it. A lot of the other swords will do a proc that deals double damage, whereas the Excalibur does not. And this is the Storm Dragon here in the snowy hills of Narsh. The Storm Dragon is the wind type dragon, is actually weak to lightning, believe it or not. You wouldn't think so by the name, but weak to lightning means let's throw our bolts at it here. 1/3 grabbing character number 6, so he's in character go mode. Let's see what's on the throne here. It's a piece of Magicite Kieran, so that was a pretty good dream. We got, what, 2 out of 3 for that one? And the Ifrit Shivat fight, blinked and you missed it, because Ifrit is weak to ice, and we've got ice 3, so there you go.
Yep. Just to go back to the Excalibur point, it is not nearly as exciting a sword as you would think it is by the name.
No. It is Pearl Elemental. So if you find a boss that's weak to Pearl, like a Skull Dragon or Ghost Strain or Haydn or one of those, then it does a little bit extra damage. But most people use it as something to boost the statistics of one of your characters who's not using the fight command. That's what a stat stick really means.
Yeah, because just a distressing number of bosses are immune to or absorb Pearl / Holy Element, which just makes Excalibur just meh at best.
Yep. We did see an offering drop from the Storm Dragon as well. If we had that fixed ice, the offering is one of the the fixed ice is one of the 3 items in the game that don't really give as much of a detriment with the offering. That is a vanilla Ragnarok Esper there in the house.
Is so this even random?
He's going to pick that up. What was the other? Oh, the other reward was a red cap. So if he really wanted that reward, I don't even think he can get it right now because he doesn't have Terra. But that reward is behind the Welk gate at Terra. And speaking of Welk, that was Welk up there at the Tritok spot. That cursed shield, it was in the single digits. Was it 4? Was it 5? It was something.
Missed it.
So in Worlds Collide, if you pick up the cursed shield in vanilla, it's 255 battles. In this set of options, it's a number between 1 and 23, I think, or something like that. So it's doable within a seed, right? Siren is the reward after defeating the Tritok spot. That's good for tier 2 of the final battle. It will be able to mute magic, which is hilariously only able to cast magic spells but can be silenced. And 1/3 is going into the goddess fight here. So we'll see how much faster his fight is compared to Javinator. And I forgot about Sword Tech and Cyan's. Oh no.
Wow.
It's past his team's bedtime. Did he save before he did Search the Sky?
No, I don't.
Oh no.
So, but I mean, eventually his guys will just wake up. It will be okay. But thank you, Inconceivable, for confirming that it was 4 fights. I think he's actually pretty lucky that he didn't already equip that curse shield to try to uncurse it, because you don't want to uncurse it. That just sounds like a bad time all around.
Yeah, so the only way to get knocked out of the sleep status is getting hit by a physical attack or waiting a while for that little tapir, I think is what they're called in this game, to come wake you up. So now that we're all awake, we'll see how... Of course, I had to curse it. Let's see how much faster this fight is. No. Thanks, Schwantz.
I mean, it might still end up being faster, because Javinator did fight a little bit. But I think this is also showing sort of 2 different philosophies when it comes to Wraith here. Javinator's sort of the I'm going to check things with my face strategy of I'm going to keep running at things until, I get walled by something.
Yep.
And if you're able to move your way through either with game knowledge or really top tier execution, that strategy is a little risky when you hit a Magimaster.
Oof. So 1/3 his X magic user got charmed and killed Celeste and stopped Strago. This is just a troll fight at this point from Goddess here. Well played. Well played.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you. That's just sometimes things happen. You know, we're gonna get Quasar'd. Oh god. I am. Note, you are still charmed, aren't you?
Yeah, so charm doesn't wear off, and there's no like counter to it, unfortunately. So he's kind of stuck there, just being a nuisance to everybody. Thanks, Cyan. So one free fits. Oh, he ran out of MP. Thank God. Now he's just gonna waste time.
Sorry, I think you mean thank Goddess.
Yes. I knew you had the puns in you. So one free fits did actually complete Cyan's dream, and one thing I wanted to mention, in this flag set, if you complete Cyan's dream, you actually unlock all of the sword techs for your character. And since one of our characters, I don't remember which one at this point, has sword tech.
Celeste.
It's Celeste, so she has access to all 8 of them, including Cleave, which is instant death anything on the screen. Unlike in the vanilla game in Worlds Collide, we've sped up that sword tech bar so that it doesn't take eons and eons to do.
I always forget if it's double speed or quadruple speed. In vanilla, that charge time was just abysmal.
Yeah, I mean, it was balanced for a vanilla game, but for a speedrun game, we want things to go fast and to be actually usable. So
I wouldn't even argue that it was balanced for the vanilla game. It was just slow.
Yeah. So while one free fits digs himself out of this hole, Javinator is going through the cutscene and finding out that he is going to get character number 8 here. One thing to note is that there is a Kefka's Tower skip available if you get either 9 characters or 12 espers. Do you want to talk about what the statue skip is?
So typically when you are going into Kefka's Tower, you split your group into 3 parties, and they go down 3 different pathways in Kefka's Tower, where they have to set switches and open the pathway for the other parties. There is an Inferno battle and a gardening battle, as well as the option to play Toilet Atma, as well as 2 dragons along the way, and there's a lot of walking and a lot of, the time being used in that. If you get enough so that you do your Kefka's Tower split once and only once,
Yep.
instead of going to the bottom of Kefka's Tower, you can instead just land yourself at the top of the tower in front of the 3 statue bosses, and you can go from there.
Yeah, it's very much like a boss gauntlet instead of, fight a boss, walk a bunch of things, flick a bunch of switches, right? So it's a lot better to have the skip, but again, the requirements are higher than that of not having the skip. Yeah, the Search the Skies was a dead check. It is an Illumina, though, one of the only things you do want to see as a dead check. And Javinator is going to recruit character number 8 here and going to find Esper number 6 on the throne. So he is just looking for Esper still in order to make it.
And at this point, if I'm Javinator, if you get to 9 characters, do you still need the 6 Esper for that Kefka Towers? Or is that 9 characters just Kefka Tower?
So there are 2 different objectives. There's unlock Final Kefka, which actually unlocks the boss, right? And then there's the Kefka's Tower skip. If you only complete your skip requirements, you'll be able to finish Kefka's Tower, but when you step on the 3 switches at the end in order to fight Kefka, he'll say, "Come back to me, peasant," when you've completed the other objective. So he could go into Kefka's Tower, clear out all those bosses, and warp back out. But obviously, like you said, you can use the skip once and only once. So therefore, I wouldn't advise doing that. Right?
It's an option.
Sure.
Good one, but
No.
it's an option.
It certainly is. So on the throne, I think one free fits did go and pick up his 7th character as well. That was who was on the throne? Was it Gao? Yes.
It was Gal on the throne.
Yep. We saw the Wild Child on the throne. Javinator here going to pick up his Vanilla Ragnarok Esper. I'm assuming he's going to, actually. I shouldn't. There is a choice.
Cool. I think I just said this. I don't think it's a good choice, but it is a choice.
So, interesting to see. Javinator didn't even bother checking the curse shield number because, again, he's super late in the seed. I wonder, and maybe we'll ask him this afterwards, if he knew it was 4 at this point, would he have taken it, right? Because I don't know if... Have we seen One Free Fitz try to uncrack the curse shield?
I don't think we have. If I were One Free Fitz, I would sort of be holding onto it until I got to a 16 counter check if I needed to.
Yeah. Versus fighting bosses with it on.
Right. Just because fighting bosses with it on can be real risky.
Yeah, because the curse shield is the worst shield in the game. It gives you negative statistics on almost everything, and it also inflicts all sorts of nasty character status effects, including Berserk and Condemned and Sap. So and Confused. So unless you have something like a ribbon that nullifies status effects, or maybe a peace ring that nullifies Berserk, then your character will at least be usable if you could do those two things. But otherwise, then you're just stuck with essentially dead weight. One Free Fritz coming back to the Tentacles fight, and he is going to show us there the Sword Tech bar. The bottom left tentacle is actually susceptible to instant death, so he could have cleaved it if he wanted to, but Sword Tech 6 is called Stunner, and it's based on your magic power and not your strength, which is the only Sword Tech I believe that does that. All of the rest of them are based on your strength.
I think the Drainer one will also be based off of your magic.
Number 5, Empowerer.
Is that the one that with the dragon thing that comes out?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so that one will refill your health and magic points up to a certain part, right? So it won't give you all of your health back. It's based on, as you said, your magic power, but it does give you health back, which is great.
Yes.
And it is Inferno here at the first Magitech factory. So Javinator just has 2 more pieces of Magicite to get, and the first 2 checks in the Magitech factory can be either Esper or items as his reward, so he's hoping to go 2 for 2 here. Oof, it is another dead check at the Dome of Siege. It is a Dragon Horn.
Yeah,
so that's 2 in a row for Fitz.
That is one of the downsides to having a lot of choices available to you, is that some of them are going to be the right choice, and be the wrong choice, and you just don't know until you do it. There are a few checks that are teachable. You can get a pool of the capabilities so you can do it. It was Lance before we talked about you'll note that Javinator just picked up his own XP egg, but at this point in the XP egg is like, well, I mean, cool, I guess.
Yeah, you're already what, level like 30 something, right? You don't really need it at this point.
I mean, you're never going to say no.
Right. And One Free Fitz is following Jav into the Magitech factory here. So there are 3 checks in the factory. This is a Celeste gated world event. And the third one is the Minecart Fun Ride, which has 3 fixed encounters and 2 bosses, but you're guaranteed to have progression in it. He's not going to find anything at the first check. We have Tritok here at the second check, and we don't know what the reward is. Do we think that he's going to go through to the third part, or do you think he's going to warp out here?
I don't think he will. I would be very surprised if he went through the minecart ride. It's just so much time and so many battles. I think there are better ways to spend his time.
Yep. It is guaranteed progression, though, but it might also give him a character that he doesn't need at this point.
Yeah.
Although if you get your 8th character, then you're looking for number 9 right afterwards, right? So we'll see what Javinator pulls here. It is a piece of Magicite, so he's just 1 off, and we'll see if Javinator decides to go through. I think for him, the choice is even more clear to not do this.
Palador there gives us access to Merton. Merton is one of the top tier in Worlds Collide. Merton is a very, very powerful spell that targets everyone on the battlefield, enemies and allies, with power wind and fire attack. So make sure that fire or and super powerful spell.
Yeah, we do have 2 Thunder Shields, which will help mitigate that. I didn't see any other Fire Shields or Red Jackets or Blizzard Orbs or Rage Rings or anything else like that. So
I
we'll
have
see if we actually have a use for it.
Yeah, I've seen just a couple of those Thunder Shields that I've noticed. But again, it's just a very, very powerful option. So even if it's imperfect, if you want to sacrifice one of your characters for it, you can absolutely, it can still be worth it, even if you're eliminating your least powerful party member. Oh no.
And we have Ultros number 3 here. If we had Sketch, we could actually end this fight right here and there, but it wouldn't give us any XP. However, with swinging Illuminas and throwing things at Ultros, it's going to go down pretty easily here. And that is character number 9 for Javinator. It is everyone's favorite dad, Shadow. So he is going to unlock the Kefka Tower skip, but as I mentioned earlier, he still needs to get that 9th piece of Magicite in order to unlock the final boss in order to beat the game.
So at this point, Javinator is pretty safely in more Esper. Shadow comes in with some very, very quick checks, including here with Bad House, which opens up that final piece of that site, and Javinator is now going to jump into Kefka's Tower.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered here, he's going to possibly be into the tower unless he goes shopping in under an hour. That's a great time. Yep, it looks like he's heading straight there, and you'll see it gives you the option to go to the statues or go to the entrance. You can only use this skip once, so if he runs into something mean, he can't come back out. And for forming your party, the middle row will fight 2 bosses, and the left row and the right team will fight only 1. So you'll see a lot of people overload that middle party with 2 characters on your 4-character team. So we do see him jumping into the switches right here. He's going to reconfigure in order to put Moogle Charms on the right people. And we'll see who the bosses are. We've seen a lot of difficult bosses, though. We've seen Magimaster and Goddess, and we do see Tritalk, which can be annoying because it's only susceptible to fire and magic defense, ignoring things. It is a ghost train, though. Unfortunately, we don't have Blitz for everybody's favorite Final Fantasy VI meme.
Also, the train moved first. One of my favorite things about the train is that it will occasionally do evil dupe and confuse your party. The number of times I have wiped myself by lining up a cleave or a powerful and then get confused and have it turned on me is not significant, but it's certainly not zero.
So I just want to point something out. Very good game knowledge there from Javinator. The Ghost Train is susceptible to instant death, which means it's also susceptible to those magic attacks that either have or quarter the HP damage. So he actually used quarter, I believe, from Setzer to deal 4,500 damage to the Ghost Train, which is more than Setzer could have probably done with one of his throws. So really nice heads-up play there from Javinator, seeing, hey, I don't have instant death, but I do have quarter, and it's going to deal a lot of damage to the Ghost Train. Speaking of a train, thank you, SpeedGaming, for coming in with a raid. Your table is in the back. There's a big party of you, and we have to keep you back there because it's the only place we can fit you. But welcome in to Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, the open world randomizer, and One Free Fits is giving us those amazing bleeding edge Mode 6 graphics here, Mode 7 graphics rather, on the minecart ride.
Yep, and what we're seeing right now is the Javinator coming in. He is fighting Atma, is a Kefka's Tower boss, but it is not in its typical location. And Javinator is getting ready to enter into that final fight, while One Free Fits is currently trying to find the last few espers that we got here because Javinator early on was able to make the few checks a little bit quicker and made some different routing choices, whereas One Free Fits has found more dead checks, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
So there are level magics as a random encounter here on One Free Fits' screen. The level magics will not give any XP, but they will give a lot of MP. So if he's looking to learn a spell, it'll be good to kill those off. As you see, he gets 50 magic points from killing that mob. But if you need levels, then you should usually run away from those level magic fights. And it's Celeste versus Atma 1v1 me, bro. We'll see who comes out on top. He is doing almost $8,000. $8,000. Wow, 8,000 damage with sword tech. So this fight shouldn't be an issue here unless Atma decides to get really, really mean.
That Flare Star damage. Flare Star often does more damage than other spells because it has a unique damage formula.
Mhm.
I used to know more about it off the top of my head, but it all has just left my brain.
Yeah,
Your magic formula.
yeah.
That's what I
so-
got for you.
It's actually based off of it's based off of the level of the target, not based off of the magic power of the caster. And when your level is pretty high, right, if you're in Kefka's Tower and you have some dead weight coming with you, it's going to be a pretty powerful spell. He does use the Empowerer sword tech in order to regain his life there, so that's sword tech 5. Meanwhile, it's the Three Stooges over on One Free Fits' screen, and each of them has an elemental absorption based on the color of their outfit. It's easy to tell. And the one on top, the one that absorbs fire, is the one you want to take out first, because he'll heal and revive the other two. And it is SR Behemoth, the subject of much debate as to what the SR stands for.
I always went with Senor Behemoth, although my favorite theory is that it is Strontium Behemoth.
Reaching deep into your high school chemistry there, huh?
Guilty as charged.
So the second phase of it's really super behemoth is susceptible to instant death, so that goes cleave, and there it goes. Sir Behemoth is also an option. Senor Behemoth sounds really fun because then you could put him in a sombrero and have a good time there.
I'm frankly imagining the Behemoth running through a bad knockoff taco truck.
I picture him just as in a mariachi band. That's the behemoth that I love. So One Free Fits gets past the first boss. He's gonna have to fight a second boss, but whatever is at the end here is guaranteed to be either a character or an Esper. So we'll see which one it is. Hopefully for him it's an Esper, because he already has the character requirements. And Javinator just has one more boss to go here on the Strago party, and we'll see who it is before Kefka. It is okay. Kefka. So Kefka decided to come down and deal with this himself, I guess. This is the Kefka at Narsh Kefka, and it is Go-Go at the end of the Magitech Factory. So unfortunately, that is another character for Fitz there.
Go-Go.
Go-Go,
another one of my favorite characters in Final Fantasy VI, and I always like to bring up the story that for a while on God, it was before Reddit was a thing. There was a rumor that Go-Go was Adlai Stevenson or some Democratic candidate from way back when. Weird things about Go-Go.
Yeah, I like Go-Go, especially in seeds where we have the throw ability, because Go-Go can use the mimic on whatever action the character that just went can take, and with throw, it means that Go-Go becomes Throw-Go, and it doesn't consume the item that you used to throw, so you can continually do it all the time, which is actually amazing. Um, yep. So thank you for the link there, Ravelin, on Reddit.
I
I My theory is that, or one of the theories I've heard is that Gogo is actually um, Shadow's old thieving pal Barum in the World of Ruin. That he didn't actually die on that day in the flashback that you get, and that
Mm.
Gogo is Barum all dressed and shrouded in cloaks, and that's the reason why they want to help you, is because they see Shadow and they're like, maybe I should do this for my old pal. But who knows? There's a lot of cool fan theories out there. Meanwhile, Javinator is at Final Kefka, stepping on the switches 107 on the dot, so that is about a 8-minute Kefka's Tower. That's pretty speedy.
Absolutely. And, this final Kefka fight, everything else has been scaled up to this point, but we almost always do final Kefka fight as unscaled for a couple of reasons. Number one, unscaled fight means that you know exactly what you're preparing for the entire time. Final Kefka is going to be Final Kefka. Also, because we typically do scaling progression, if you do more progression than your opponent, and you scale Final Kefka, your Final Kefka could end up being more difficult than your opponent's. And, we didn't think that was fair. We
Yeah,
wanted every
I have
same.
played. I'm sorry. I was gonna say I have played seeds where Final Kefka is scaled, and sometimes it's actually more difficult, even though the HP threshold is lower. Kefka will do these final tiers of Kefka will do things you don't expect them to, and their spells change into things you don't think that they're going to. I once died on tier 1 because it cast Grand Train on me, and I'm like, this never happens usually on tier 1, right? So um, it's one of
So
those weird things.
Javinator has hit a problem.
What's his problem?
He doesn't have any Phoenix moons left.
Oh no, Rutro.
I do believe that Chat called it a while ago when he was grinding his way through those fights. Someone said he's going to run out of Phoenix Downs.
Oh, this is not good at all. Maybe he should search his spell list to see if he has life or life 2. Those are spells that could bring you back. But yeah, this is interesting.
It means that he has to take this fight more cautiously than I think he wants to.
Yeah.
It does make it a much riskier fight. There are things that can go wrong, as evidenced by the fact that his Celis did die there. That certainly wasn't going to plan, but
No, you don't want, if you have no Phoenix Downs, you don't want to have somebody die on tier 1. Maybe 2 or 3, you might be okay with it, but definitely not tier 1. Wow, 2 good items there in the Cave of the Veldt. The first was a shield, Aegis shield, and the second is a Minerva, and the third is an Esper on the ground that'll put 1 free Fitz in go mode here. Oh no, I'm sorry. I marked the tracker incorrectly. So he has 7 Espers and not 8. So let's talk about the final boss here. It is 4 tiers, and each tier has something unique about them. The first tier is all physical attacks and physical damage. As you see, wow, Setzer gets rocked there. He does have Phantom. That would be good to cast.
he also has Life 3, which is not terrible. So one of the nice things about the final Kefka fight is that each of the tiers has a bit of a theme, but also each one of the pieces has some way of exploiting a weakness. What we've seen here was an instant death attack. Tear of one of the arms. The face is weak to fire, and then the other arm, well, at that point, it's just one enemy. It's fine.
Yep, and you want to kill the head first, or you want to kill the head and the longer arm that's susceptible to instant death before you kill the shorter arm with the fist due to death counters. What is this here? Is that Setzer's limit break? What I've never seen that move before.
No, that was a shadow skein. It basically
Oh.
on him.
You know, I've never actually used it. I've never seen that before.
It's another possible calmness mitigation. And
Yep.
in this case, when you've got a lot of high-powered physical attacks coming at you, can be very, very helpful.
Very interesting. Yeah, you know what's funny? Somebody actually in our Discord mentioned or was asking about calmness protection, and I said, well, there are these elemental schemes that you could do to cast yourself image status, and I've never actually used it before. By the way, our Discord is in the chat. If you want some more information about how to play the game, or if you want to just come out and hang and talk Final Fantasy VI, we're there, we hang, and we have a good time.
And one thing I would like to point out, if you would like to start playing this randomizer and don't know where to begin, on our Discord, we will link you to our website. And one of the things we have is what we call the Losers First Seed series, which is a video where I will play a seed through with you. I will give you the exact seed and then walk you through how I approach the seed, how I start shooting, and the decision-making process to really give you a guided experience into World.
Yeah, ff6wc.com is the website as well, if you want to head over there. Javinator's up to tier 2. So one thing about the final battles as well is if one of your characters is dead when you transition from one tier to another, they will be removed from your party and somebody on the bench comes out to substitute them. So that's why Javinator is being extra cautious to not let any of his characters die, because once they do, he can't pick them back up, and they won't be available for the rest of the battle if they're dropped in between tiers. One Free Fits, meanwhile, is checking out the auction house, which can sell espers, and it is selling espers because his glowing stones are available. We'll see what he decides to get out of the auction house. And on the first try, there it is. There's an esper.
Rather be lucky than good. So on this tier 2 of Kefka, there are 5 parts to it. The one in the very back, also known as magic, can be muted, which seems like a really, really bad weakness for a mage type to have.
Yep.
But hey, it's fine. Then Ghouls, which is sort of the machinery-looking thing next to the woman in red, is vulnerable to instant death, but not petrify. So you can use Doom, but you can't use Break. Ask
Yep.
me why you know and how many times I tried to cast Break on it.
Yeah, the thing is, one of the parts of the first tier, that long arm, is susceptible to instant death or break. So that's sort of where the confusion can come in for sure. So
Ask me how much time I lost. I don't remember. It was several minutes.
well, I played a seed earlier and I tried to X zone tier 1 and I missed 8 times in a row. 8. This is the most I've ever had. I almost gave up, but then I was like, okay, if it doesn't work this time, I'm just gonna go through and defeat it normally. But yeah, that's insane. In lieu of healing, Javinator is also casting elemental spells on his own party because he has some Thunder Shields. So pass the Thunder Shield around and cast Bolt 2 on yourself in order to heal. Very interesting strat. You know, you gotta use what the seed gives you sometimes.
I mean, isn't that the entire theory behind like defibrillation?
That is, yeah. There it is. Yep. Clear. Unfortunately, since I think Edgar has an Illumina, that spell cast missed. Because one of the things about Illumina is it increases your evade by 50% for both
of
physical and magic attacks. So, ugh, that's rough.
So each one of the here will do a final death counter. A hit will do 10 hits. So creative and game, it does 10 physical attacks. Shocking.
Yep. Because Senor Behemoth actually does. His counter is called 4 attacks, and guess how many physical attacks it is. I'll give you a hint, chat. It's in the name. So 1 free Fitz is setting up for his skip as well. He's trying to figure out how to configure his party. Honestly, like for this, if I just have like a lot of characters, I usually just dump them wherever they can go. There's a saying that I have to keep reminding myself of. It is that perfect is the enemy of the possible, right? You could try to perfect your build and make it as powerful as it is, but sometimes you just need to go, right? And you just need to say, this is enough to beat the game. Let's just go and beat the game.
Don't let the perfect get in the way of the good enough.
Yep. Where did Jav get 1 million air lancelets? I think he bought 1 million mithril pikes, actually.
He also must have bought airland.
Okay.
I don't. Otherwise, the randomizer could just be, playing silly buggers with us. It wouldn't be the strangest thing for him to make.
Yeah, the chests are random. Yeah, that's a cheap item to buy, and it's wind elemental actually. So when you throw it, it's based off of your battle power. But if something is weak to wind, like I'm pretty sure either magic or long arm, I don't remember which one. It's one of those two. They're weak to wind, so if you have the chance to buy them, then you certainly could. And Strago falls down because he had the sap status or seizure status, and he got hit with the worldy wind and he fell over. So that's not good. Setzer only has 157 health as well.
Yeah, but I think we're really leaning on Celis here for Javinator. And Celis can cure herself with that Empowerer. Or almost called it a rage. Rage is a different thing.
Yep.
So on this tier, you want to make sure that you defeat Girl in the back first. Otherwise, she will cast Life 2 on Sleep and will revive him with absolutely full health, which is so depressing when it happens.
Yep, and here we see another Windy Wind or Whirlwind, and Celeste can heal herself, so this isn't a problem, but he queued up his attack first. So he's going to do Sword Tech 7, which is based off of physical damage, and you saw that's a lot of damage. That was over 10k, I'm pretty sure.
I would be a little concerned right now if I was Javinator looking at Sleep, because he could start doing Meteo and countering things with Meteo, and that is a very powerful spell that can do a lot of damage. So, once you sort of trigger that phase, you want to put him down as quickly as possible. And these rolls on the fixed dice just ain't doing it.
No.
That was so disappointing.
Yeah, so that's why runners will shy away from fixed dice, is because it is RNG and it also takes a while. 5 HP and a dream for Edgar here, oof. But he is into the Meteo phase, and this attack will do more than 10,000 HP, so that means that Calmness comes out, and since he's got image status on all of his characters, that should be okay. And 3 out of 4 characters is okay, even though Edgar's hobbling in on 5 HP there.
Well, I mean, Edgar's about to eat column. What's the difference there?
This has been a clinchy fight for Javinator so far, for sure. And he's going to... As Strago went down, you'll see, as I mentioned earlier, somebody will come in off the bench. It doesn't really matter who it is at this point. It's the corpse of Locke. But I think he'll be fine with 3 characters as long as he can heal himself after falling 1, which reduces all of your HP in the party to 1. So we'll see. Kefka can be a pain. It is a push and pull. It's kind of like a dance in this last phase here.
It is. Well, those fixed dice rolls are wildly variable.
Wow, there was like a quad 9 and then 148. Unfortunately, free Fitz gets taken out by Toilet Atma with the Quake. Here comes Fallen 1. Is he just going to push through here? I mean, he has life 3, I think, on some of his party.
I see Celis getting an Empower queued up there. But... Whew. Huh.
I don't know if he's got any healing items, any elixirs or X potions, and so Kefka's charging up for Goner here. So what he's doing is he won't be able to counterattack during this phase. So Jav is throwing everything he's got right now, which includes some decent dice rolls. Boogie down Edgar.
Queued up the dance, I think, hoping for the Wild Bear.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, did not get it.
No, so Celis will be the one left standing. I think he keeps using Empower. As long as she doesn't get, like, hyper-drivered, she'll probably be okay.
Yep. So we'll see. Now, both of his party members come back to life, which is great because that is more targets for Kefka to use against. However, if he gets under 10,000 HP, he may have a chance to counter with Ultima. Thankfully, this is just a train, which sounds bad, and it is normally bad because you get muted and silenced for your whole party. However, we're not really using magic here. Edgar going down from the Havoc Wing. Let's see what Setsu's going to do for the rolls.
Oh god, some of these rolls have been absolutely atrocious. Like,
yeah, they're abysmal.
Bad.
All right, so here comes another 10-ish thousand HP. We'll see if that is enough for Kefka, and it is. The crack pow. That is Javinator done. GG in first place with a time of 1:23.25. Whew! That was a nail biter there. I was sweating in my seat.
But, Javinator once again showing a lot of really high-level plays and high-level strategy and a very deep knowledge of the game. Knowing when to use that of power, place, taking advantage of gravity, etc. Really, really showing off some high-level play.
Rockadilio saying that was dicey. I see what you did there. We do have Javinator in the booth. Welcome, Jav. GG. Congratulations on your first place finish. That was Thanks. A wild one for you, huh?
You ever just forget healing and Phoenix Downs and stuff?
Yeah, usually doesn't go as well for me as it went for you, though.
Yeah, a little bit of luck on my side there for sure, but I'll take it.
Yeah, that was incredible to watch you navigate. That was amazing, actually. So let's start at the beginning, though. You got so much free progression at the beginning of the seed. I think you had 6 characters and 2 espers before you took your first fight. Were you planning on doing this, or was this just how the seed fell out and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to reset out of this. I'm just going to take my first fight, and it's going to be brutal, but I'm going to get as much XP as I can out of it.
Yeah, so usually I have the philosophy that I want to do all of the free checks first. Usually you don't get that many free checks. So usually I'd stop around level 12 because that's kind of the limit. When I say level 12, I mean like
enemy level 12.
Enemy level 12 with respect to scaling, because that's kind of a tipping point for like a level 3 character. Usually I find to get through some fights. But I was like, let's see how far we can push this. So I think scaling was at level 18 by the time I hit Serpent's Trench. So that got a little dicey, but that was fun.
Yeah, that was... your fixed encounters were longer than your bosses towards the end of the seed, huh?
Yeah, so the good thing about that strategy is that you get a lot of progression really quickly, and then when you do get through your fights, even though they take a long time, you're going to get lots of experience for them. Right. So luckily I was able to get through those, and then finally got to the point where I could kill some dragons, killed a few dragons, and then that finally caught me back up to scaling. And then by then I had, I was on a decent pace, and I could just kind of play the rest of the seed more normally, we'll say.
Yeah, there was that dirt dragon clutch that you had to pull out there, and then immediately you did Search the Sky, found Goddess, and that was really dicey for you for a while there as well.
Yeah, I kind of wanted the reset out of it, but then I also wanted all that experience. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm playing on my console for the first time, and I wasn't
that's right.
exactly sure how to reset. I figured it out, but I wasn't exactly sure, other than the physical button. But it would have brought up a menu and stuff, and I didn't want to do that. So anyway, we figured it out. But yeah,
Don't the consoles come with a reset button?
yeah, they do. But then it looks bad on the restream and stuff, so I didn't want to do that.
There it is, Jab putting production value over his own time of the run. So you also found Locke pretty late in Cyan's dream, and you didn't bother checking the curse shield. I want to ask you, if you knew that the number was 4, would you still go and get it?
I would have gotten 4 in this case, I think.
Okay, because that's what it was.
Yeah. So I mean, I would have got it if I knew that's what it was, but I don't feel bad necessarily about not getting it. But yeah, the Thunder Shield being my only real elemental protection for the seed was kind of dicey. It's kind of a weird seed like that.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly, that's a pretty easy sub 120 with remembering even just Phoenix Downs and like hitting some shop and buying a bunch of X potions or something. I had money and stuff to sell. Like that's an easy sub 120 if you don't just kind of forget how to play the game.
Yeah, so you were into Kefka's Tower at 59 minutes, at the switches at 107, and you finished 123. So the Kefka fight was 16 minutes long. So that's an unusually long Kefka fight, but you took it slow without Phoenix Downs, and you navigated it with Empowerer as your only healing and throwing some bolts on yourself. Although Edgar didn't want to play nice since he had the Illumina on, right? So
yeah, Magic Evade gives and Magic Evade takes away. Yeah, I also had Life 3, which helped me breathe a little bit. I also kind of forgot I put Offering Fixed Dice on Setzer, and I was like, oh yeah, I could do a lot of damage here.
And then you proceeded to not do a lot of damage.
No, there were some bad rolls. I could have used some much bigger rolls there, but I'm just happy I got through that. Like Edgar with 5 HP after that Meteor was kind of dicey. Although he wasn't doing a ton. I forgot to break the Thunder Shield with him, but yeah, that was quite a Kefka fight. That was I was worried I was gonna have to reset, and I didn't know what I was gonna do.
You were gonna finally show us how resetting on the console looks, right?
I did reset on tier 1.
Oh, that's right.
When Celis got bad luck, our polarity, and then hit twice in a row and died. That's when I found out I didn't have any Phoenix Downs.
We all
pulled out the dance looking for a wild bear to heal you.
Yeah, that I definitely was hoping for a wild bear at the very end there.
That was a good shout out from Ravlin. He was the one that noticed that one.
Yeah. Fun seed. I do recommend going and getting all the free checks. I don't think I'd recommend getting that many free checks. I kind of got lucky, but yeah, it was a fun seed for sure.
Ravlin, you have any other questions, thoughts, comments?
Not really. You've covered it quite nicely. Thank you for doing a good show for us tonight. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
Any other final thoughts, Jav, about playing on? This is your first seed on your flash cart with your console.
I'm still not using the controller. I felt like I was over menuing on stuff and like bumping into things. I feel like I'm used to a little bit of input lag, and now that I don't have it, I'm not expecting it to be as responsive, and then the controller, it feels different, so I'll get used to it, but it's still a little bit weird. But other than that, it played great, so yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for volunteering to be on stream, and good luck with the rest of your Ultros qualifier races. I know you've put up some pretty good times so far, so that's also good to see as well.
Yeah, thanks very much. Right, thanks SpeedGaming for hosting, and talk to y'all later.
Sounds good. All right, so now we got one free fits into Kefka at 1:30:45-ish. So a little bit behind there. He had some issues with Atma, which, sometimes we do.
Yeah, and again, when we get to this point, bosses, there are a lot of bosses that can really throw a monkey wrench into the system, even when you are sort of in cruising mode of oh, everything's gonna be fine. Really, really okay.
Yeah, so scaling also plays a factor. The maximum level that bosses can be scaled to is 40. And with the runners completing 9 characters and 9 espers, they're scaled up, the bosses are in Kefka's Tower, higher than they normally are for a, let's say, 6 and 9 or 7 and 9, what you usually get, right? So that certainly doesn't help when you're facing bosses that are much higher level than what you usually have. So, never a good thing.
Is right. But, we definitely see Fitz having plenty of, offensive power here, just sort of beating his way through tier 1.
Yeah, that's what early EXP eggs will do to you. You'll get levels upon levels upon levels. He is also going to go ahead and cast Life 3. I'm assuming that he has he has either health or Phoenix Down options, but always good to cast Life 3, especially if you have X magic. You might as well do it. The only thing that I would advise is to wait to do it on tier 2 after you've killed magic, because magic will counter with Dispel, which will remove your Life 3 status if it targets you, right? And that's come back to bite me a few times when I've run this game and didn't have Calmness protection other than Life 3, only to die to Calmness and go, what the heck, I cast Life 3 on myself. Nope, you didn't.
Yep.
Or you did and it got taken away.
I have done that myself more than once.
Yeah, so we see here the order of operations: kill the head and long arm before you kill the short arm to avoid the nasty death counters. And that's tier 1. Blinked and you missed it. It's down. He's going to have a bit of an easier time with Kefka, even without the whole Phoenix Down debacle, just because of how many levels he's at. I think he was in the 50s as we saw him in the menu, which is usually higher than you get in these Worlds Collide seeds. Usually you're in the high 30s, low 40s at the end of the game.
And now we see tier 2. That opening haste 2 is mildly obnoxious, but not a game-ruining thing. Wondering if he's got new Tyrant himself, or magic. You want to take care of that magic, you want to take care of that tools, because those two things can really do some nasty abilities. Like your magic spells, abilities like diffuser, etc. Although if you're doing that much damage with red ice 3, I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, Tiger is weak to ice, so he should go down rather fast. I mean, Stunner is doing 6,000 damage to every target on screen. The only problem with doing this sort of strategy is, as you mentioned, there are death counters, and magic can death counter with the quarter spell, which will reduce your HP to a quarter of what the maximum is, obviously. If you can get into a situation where you kill magic and hit at the same time, you could actually end up getting quartered and then getting 10 hits, and that might spell a party wipe for you. So you have to be careful when choosing to do this strategy of let's hit everything on the screen, right? So we'll see how Fitz gets on with it.
But again, his levels are so high, his power level is so high that honestly, I don't think it matters.
Yep. That is also true. Now, I'm not sure about Morph being usable on... Yeah, he's doing 1 damage to Cyan. That's where that snow muffler comes in that he got from doing the dragon at Mount Zozo, right? Because Javinator did not do that Mount Zozo dragon, because he went there early for the progression. So that's one of the strongest pieces of equipment in the game, and now you see why.
Yep. So that snow muffler is basically with any other piece of equipment, that could be 5, and you'll take 0 or 1 damage from all physical attacks that don't ignore your defense.
Yep, so since 10 hits already came out, these quarters are not really a problem. They're just more annoying than anything at this point. So he does have Morph going on still, so you see doing the quad 9s damage, because again, when you're Morphed, you do double damage on every attack that you do. I wonder if the Morph will stay through this transition to the next tier. This I don't know if it happens or not, because normally what happens is...
does.
Okay, so normally what happens is you do Morph, and that you can only do it once per battle. Some things with this final battle are weird because it's actually multiple tiers, so some things will persist throughout the entire battle. Like if one of your users gets hit by the sap status, it'll persist. Image status, things like that, life 3 will persist, but then other things reset after every tier. So if you were to use, let's say, Rage or Dance, you actually would be controllable for the next tier. So we'll see what happens here with Morph. But this is a good showcase for the Morph ability. It tends to be underused, I think, a lot in the community.
It is certainly underrated. It is very, very powerful.
Yeah, 9,700 damage on that fire right there. So we did have Fenrir for Calmness Protection, and here it comes. So this part shouldn't be a problem, and he's doing so much damage that he'll get over the medio cap. So the problem with this part of the fight is if you don't do damage quickly enough, you can get caught getting medio to death because you don't do more than 10,000 HP, which is the you don't do more than 10,000 damage rather, which is the HP threshold for the boss here.
Yeah, you again, once you're getting into that medio phase, you need to have a plan to take him out post-phase.
There's a question in chat about another race afterwards. There is a schedule available in the information area for SpeedGaming. Unfortunately, there is no Worlds Collide race after this. It looks like we will be having... Where are we here? There are some Super Metroid rando races after on SpeedGaming and SpeedGaming 2. We are normally on one of the SpeedGamings here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you don't want to be late to the party, Leo, you can certainly come back at 8 p.m. Eastern, because that's usually when we have our races, and One Free Fritz has got to get his party back up here. This is kind of a dicey situation.
Yep, and we're seeing the advantage of having some really the final fight.
Watch and learn, Jav. And some elixirs as well. Look at that. Some healing. Who would have thought? Unfortunately, that means that the image status for both Cyan and Setzer have been removed because they went down. I wonder if he's going to try and get a life 3 off here. One of the things to do when this boss is in this medio phase is to heal the boss. It seems counterintuitive to heal the boss, but if you get above the 10,000 HP threshold, the boss will not be in this. I can cast Medio on every single turn and as a counter. So it looks like he's going to try and get life 3 up for both of his characters here with X magic. But remember, rest can counter in between each of these 2 turns, so we'll see what happens.
Look, that'll be okay. Just get that stunner out. Hopefully that'll be enough.
Oh yeah. Perfect. Beautiful recovery. Excellent recovery there by One Free Fits. Yeah, Cyan was swinging a sword most of the match until he needed to come out with X Magic here, and he certainly is doing the trick. The thing about X Magic is it's one of the only ways to break the damage cap of 999 for a magic build. However, it is slow because you have 2 cast animations instead of 1, and enemies can counter you in between your first and second spell. So if you queue up 2 spells and you're not ready for the counter after the first one, it could spell disaster, right? Depending upon what the boss script is. Thankfully, he was able to get both of those life 3s off, and he's on to Final Kefka here, which shouldn't be a problem.
Yep. It is possible to do enough damage in this phase, completely skip the Fallen One stage if you do enough damage. Next part of his script, and it don't quite.
Yeah, I don't know it for sure, but I believe it's 30,000 damage in the first first 3 or 4 turns. Because once he gets under 30,000 HP, he'll start countering with things like Hyperdrive and Train. And if Kefka gets under 10,000 HP, that's where you get into range of getting countered with Ultima, which is normally a party wipe unless you're at full HP. And even then.
Yeah, or you have some other, form of mitigation. You've got
Life
some
3.
air. There are a couple of ways to sort of get around that fact.
Yep, so we're seeing here, he's healing his party back up. We're waiting to see the Goner charge, because again, Kefka will not counterattack while he's charging up for his ultimate move, which is the coolest animation in the game objectively. But it doesn't do a lot of damage compared to some of the other spells. It's very anime of Final Fantasy VI, the Goner animation, I find.
And it's very Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're digging watching the randomizer, we do races on SpeedGaming every Wednesday. As I said, ff6wc.com is the website where there's a link to both the Discord and to different guides and wikis, including Ravlin's own Boogle's First Seed, where it's basically like a seed walkthrough. You could do it at the same time. And here we see the Thunder Shields going off, because remember, there's no counters during this phase, so this is the time to throw everything you got. All of your elemental shields. Just start throwing them. Which is what Javid said that he wanted to do, but forgot about it. And unfortunately, he did not get the actions off quick enough, so Cyan's going to eat this Goner, and I think that Flame Shield is also going to be Goner, if you will.
Yeah, just...
So when throwing shields, they do a maximum damage tier 3 level spell. When throwing rods, they do a max damage tier 2 level spell. And that is it. The Crack Pow for 1 free fits. He is done. 144, 34 is his time here. So get your GGs in chat. All right. We'll see if we can get him in for an interview. I can spam him the link to this as well. Let's see.
Overall, again, this was another really well executed seed that we saw from Fitz here. Just had some bad luck in terms of some routing decisions, but it's not like any of those decisions were quote unquote wrong. They were completely reasonable decisions, and sometimes they just don't pan out quite the way you want them to. And a little bit of bad luck with the toilet Atma fight, but those things happen. Again, an entirely well played, well executed, well run seed. Really going on here.
All right, and it looks like 1 free fits, unfortunately, is going to be unable to join us for an interview, so we will wrap this up real quick. Thank you again to SpeedGaming for hosting us, and the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide open world randomizer. ff6wc.com is the website. Ravlin has been my co-commentator, so thank you for stepping up. Always appreciate seeing and hearing you. Good times.
And thank you for inviting me and, doing most of the hard work here. I just sort of sat along for the ride.
Well, I mean, we're just talking. It's really the racers that are putting on most of the show. So give them go give them a follow. I can't see who brought me as a commentator. I can't even talk. Go give them a follow. I'm sure they will appreciate it. Again, thank you, Speed Gaming, for allowing us to be on here. And you got any other final thoughts, Rav, before we let you go to sleep?
No, just look forward to seeing you guys hanging around in our Discord. Come join us, come play with us, and keep an eye out at Games Monthly. Worlds Collide will be there as well. In there and give us some support when we're on the quote unquote big stage.
Yeah, SGDQ will be a lot of fun. It's at the end of this month, so you can check their website for scheduling. And in the meantime, we will be back next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on one of the Speed Gaming family of network channels. And we will catch you on the next one. See you later. Bye bye.